of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. We are looking at week 6. Week 5 is in the bag, and as Jets fans, we know what that means. We've just gone 0-5 for the first time and we've got all sorts of unenviable records tied to this as well. No turnovers for an 0-5 team start, blah, 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 blah. Loads of negativity all over social media. I can dip in for a couple of minutes and then my eyes start bleeding and I have to come back out again. But it's all good where we are in the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. As you know, we try and keep things positive. We always try and find a positive spin on things, but it's really, really difficult. And it's really, really difficult to talk about how this team can move on from here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just give a brief synopsis. Timmy's going to do that. And then we're going to get into the meat and bones of how and where it might have gone wrong. Just our opinions. And then we're going to give our opinions on how we think that the Jets can be fixed, if they can be fixed. So to kick this off, Timmy, do you want to kick this off? Give us a synopsis. What actually happened? How did this all break down?
I'll probably keep this a bit briefer than usual because there's not a whole lot to put into it, right? But Jets took the ball first to start the game. We had talked about who might be the returner in the pre-pod, and it was Khalil Herbert, straight off of the bench, straight off of the street, which was good to see. Didn't do an amazing amount, but yeah, that's how we kicked the game off at least anyway. We went down the field, 59 yards, got into position to score a touchdown, got within 3 yards of the end line, and not a great call, to be honest with you. And we had a minus 4 yard run from Breece Hall just when we were just about to kind of close out that drive, and Solomon Thomas came in and was unblocked. So a mistake from the O-line there, and unfortunately we paid for it and scored a field goal. Still felt pretty good about it. I think with this defense, the way it's playing at the moment, you still kind of felt we probably needed a touchdown there. But a scoring drive to start the game, kept onto the ball for over 7 minutes. So I felt pretty good about that at the same time. Cowboys get the ball, and to close out the first quarter, score a field goal, 3-3 ball game, all good. The Cowboys get the ball, and they march down the field 85 yards. A long drive for them, their longest drive of the game, 6 minutes and 10 seconds. And off they go, and they score a touchdown. 10-3, 2 minutes left in the half. Still, the game is there to play for, right? Our defense did not play well to this point on either drive. Looked very porous, especially from a passing game perspective. That first drive for a field goal was only 2 minutes and 46 seconds and 49 yards, so it was very quick. So they were able to move the ball on us fairly quickly, right? It was kind of, at this point, the story of the game. But again, with 2 minutes left in the game, 10-3, and unfortunately for us, they get the ball back very quickly, and they march down the field, score a touchdown, and we're in disarray. It's 17-3. We get the ball back, don't do anything with it, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're again 66-yard run, down another touchdown. So they scored a touchdown again then to start the third quarter. So they scored 4 consecutive touchdowns. And I suppose just the disappointing part is, right, with 2 minutes left in the game, that we weren't able to, do anything on defense. Like, they were just scoring at will at this point. It was an embarrassment. The third quarter, one of the hardest quarters I've had to watch as a Jets fan, just felt like defeated at that point. In fairness, I suppose, was it's garbage time, you'd say, 30 points to 3. We brought the game back to 37-22 to finish. We scored a few touchdowns in garbage time, but still conceded a touchdown. If it just felt like that they were scoring on every drive almost, to be honest with you. So, yeah, defeated enough feeling, I suppose, Gus, is how I would describe after that game, Just the second quarter, the fumble, I suppose, that gave up, I suppose, the touchdown at that point when it was 10-3. Breece Hall.
Oh, Timmy's just dropped off there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So he was holding the ball very high up in his chest. he's done this before. We should have, I feel like he's not learning from his mistakes. Gave up the fumble. Of course, we didn't land on it. It was recovered by Dallas. And that's kind of the story of the game. After that, they just scored at will on us, and we lost we just lost the game very, very quickly, and it was just out of touch before we knew it.
Yeah. There was various things that went wrong in this game. As I say, we're going to start breaking down how and why. We didn't get any pressure at all on Dak Prescott. No sacks at all. To discuss this, Andy is going to highlight pretty much what happened. Andy.
Yeah, I think you hit on the nail on the head there. I think the type of scheme that we're playing has come under a lot of scrutiny the past couple of weeks, and how predictable and kind of boring it is, and very man-heavy sort of coverage. And the secondary's been getting a lot of stick, but I think the inability of this team to get pressure, particularly the defensive line, is a huge problem. I think before this game, I had a look at the stats, and the Jets were top 10 in blitz rate, which means we're having to send more guys, but we are bottom 3 in pressures. Even with sending so many blitzes, we're bottom 3 in pressures. And it all kind of starts with a lack of talent on the defensive line. We know we're missing JJ at the moment up front, and that means we're relying on people like Clemens and Barron and McGregor, who they're not it at all. There's a couple of clips that Joe Blewett's been posting on Twitter at the moment, which is just, you see how teams are playing us, is that Harrison Phillips and Q are both getting doubled. One guy on Will McDonald, and then just a tight end on Michael Clemens, because you don't really have to bother with Clemens. You don't really have to think about him as an offensive coordinator, because he's clueless. He doesn't know what he's doing out there. He's getting frozen by some of the most obvious motion before the snap, and not adjusting, not getting back into the game because he's not athletic enough to get back into the game. And it's really poor, and it's depressing to watch, because like Timmy said, we're getting scored on at will. And I think anything you see from the Jets in the fourth quarter of any of the last 4 games has just been a complete illusion, because teams stop playing against us because they're 2-3 scores up most of the time. And to be honest, if we do start scoring, they know they're going to be able to score on us again. And this is the second time this year where the Jets have gone up against a patchwork offensive line, and we've looked like we're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles every week. We look like every single guy out there is Lane Johnson, and it's really poor.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? As you say, I think the consensus is, and we'll get into this later on as well. Right now, when you look at this roster, there are so many people. You just go through the roster and you just go, gone, 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 gone. I reckon straight off, I could count at least 20 to 30 players on this team, most of them on the defensive side of the ball, that I just don't want to see back next year. And I don't think they will be back, because there's a lot of one-year contracts. Ryan, do you want to come in and talk about the secondary, seems we're on D, but then we'll go to Timmy?
Yes, I mean, the linebackers in the second.
Oh, we're having some problems there. I think
we know with Quincy down.
I think we're having some problems with Ryan there, so we'll go over to Timmy and he can talk about the O-line. I think Ryan's got some connection issues. Timmy, what's happening with the O-line? Because up until now, they've been pretty good, haven't they? They've been like top 5 unit, and the pass pro, it just wasn't there this game against the Cowboys, which is quite surprising. It almost looked like Micah Parsons was still playing for the Cowboys.
Yeah, it just was one of those games where it just didn't work for them. They've probably been the highlight, I'd say, of the team, I would say, prior to this so far for the season. The unit has looked good. Probably one of my favourite Jets, Armand Membu, didn't have a good day. I think he was caught for 4 penalties, if I remember correctly. Just didn't look right. They planned very well against us. I just think that part of it is as well, I think Justin Fields is holding onto the ball too long as well. And I don't want to try and blame him for everything, because he was pressured a lot, but at the same time, he was holding the ball for a long amount of time, and it was there for everybody to see as well. We mentioned, I suppose, in the preview pod that Aaron Glenn had said prior to the season, we're going to let him play quarterback. And we knew that this Cowboys team, had given up over 8 yards per play on passing downs. And we said he was going to have to step up and pass the ball. And he just didn't do it. He just stepped back and held the ball. There was guys open. I seen them open. They weren't easy throws, granted, but we did very well on 50-50 balls when he did throw them in the game. Our percentage was high. Particularly, I think Mason Taylor in particular, I think caught multiple ones. I think it was 3 out of 3. So I just don't think that we stepped up where we needed to. I actually think the offensive line played pretty well on the running downs, just the passing downs. And I think that the commonality there was him holding onto the ball too long. I just don't think his vision is there. When he's under pressure, he completely falls off a cliff then as well. I think he just runs around too much to try and make something happen. And if it's not there, then we pay for it, right? And was it 5 or 6 sacks we give up? Too many anyway. So I just think the whole thing, I think both of the things play into each other. I think he was only onto the ball too long. I just don't think he was shrewd. And unfortunately, we were hoping for him to step up this year, and it hasn't happened. He's played okay, probably as a good backup, but he's not a franchise quarterback based on what we've seen so far. And that's unfortunate. We're first overall when it comes to the draft pick at the moment. And as things stand, you'd have to think we're going to be looking at getting a quarterback. And at least that defensive line can do something for somebody next year. But as it stands, I'm deflated after the game. I don't think the offensive line played particularly well, but I don't think they were helped either.
No, getting back to what you just said about sacks and pressures, we actually gave away 5 sacks and get this 14 QB pressures or hits. So, and putting into perspective, and I'll backtrack on what I said. We didn't get a sack. We did actually get a sack. Weirdly enough, McGregor got a sack. We had 1 sack and 3 pressures, QB hits against their 5 to 14. So it stinks. You're right in what you're saying. I don't think the O-line were made to look particularly good. Justin Fields didn't help them out at all. Initially, that first drive, he was getting rid of the ball quickly, mainly because he had to, because the Dallas front four and linebackers was straight into the backfield. So he did actually have to get rid of it quite quickly, and he did look quite good. And then straight after that, it all just went belly up. But hopefully Ryan's going to be back. Are you there, Ryan? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I should be good to go now.
Go on, give us the business about what happened in the secondary.
We knew there was problems when Quincy went down. I don't think anybody expected us to be lighting it up in the secondary, but Jamian Sherwood just isn't there yet. He's not leading this team as the way he should. He is still leading us in tackles, which is kind of what you'd expect. Kiko has been, I suppose, encouraging would be the best way I could word it. He's looked good coming downhill. He's looked to cover the ground well, but he's not good enough to be starting alongside Jamian Sherwood right now. We are devoid of talent in that area. Something that was maybe slightly encouraging is that Brandon Stevens wasn't the worst player that's ever graced a football field this week. He seems to have been steadily improving. So he's almost reached the average level now, I think. Which is really concerning that he's actually improving, and we're now looking at him as being a base level that we would need for probably a depth piece. And that is the sad state of affairs on defense right now. But he did have a better game. He made some of the more important tackles, and he seems to be the only cornerback we have on the field at any time that can actually make a tackle stick right now. Source, another letdown game, another disappointing game, the hand fighting. We can argue that the OPI call against Garrett and that Pickens one were one and the same, and if one's called, the other should be called. But the reality is, again, it's not called. He shouldn't be getting beaten like that as the highest paid corner in the league. And there are problems. And we've talked about this coaching and this background team going out and getting guys when they need them. But the reality is, we went out and traded for Jarvis Brownlee Jr. He was injured the first week. We kind of accept that. Talked up all week about how he's going to be activated. I don't recall him playing a single snap I haven't looked at the statistics as to whether he did, to be perfectly honest with you. But I don't recall seeing him. And I even argued one of my bets with Bet365 because I felt he wasn't on the field. So I just, what is the point in having these underperforming guys when you've gone out and then traded for a Brownlee? You've drafted an AZ Thomas. You've drafted a Malachi Moore, and then you're playing him as a slot corner rather than a safety, where clearly his strength lies. I'm just running a bit thin on. I nearly dropped an F-bomb there, but I'm running out of these cares, and I'm running out of cares to give, and with some of these excuses and reasonings, because we are trotting players out there every week now that are barely UFL level right now, and we've got guys, young guys, potentially talented guys out in the wings, whether that's on our practice squad, whether that's on the depth roster. But we're playing these vets who have clearly shown no ceiling that is worthy of the NFL. So I don't know what we're supposed to do with this secondary if we're going to keep playing the same players over and over and doing the same things over and over. It's literally the definition of sanity, is it doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
We're going to go 0-6 this week if we do not change something.
The only good thing that is coming up in this game, and let's face it, the Denver Broncos are a good team. They've got a Hall of Fame coach as well. Oh, it's going to be a tough game, but maybe they get a bit more jet lag coming from the West Coast. Just maybe that helps us. I know I'm clutching at straws. Getting back to the DBs, Sauce Gardner, you mentioned Sauce Gardner. He had a stinker of a presser, didn't he? Do you want to finish this off, Ryan? Did you see the presser he had? And he was pretty much trying to exonerate himself from the penalties he's been picking up.
Yeah, so we've had 2 press conferences from him now where I've kind of thought they were a bit questionable, where he was last week he was talking about the refs don't give us the calls, and look, we all feel that as fans. But do you know what? Take some accountability. And then this week it's, oh, well, there was this happened and that happened, and now I'm pretty sure it was a blown coverage. Whether he thought the safety was coming down or not, frankly, he was beaten. And I don't care what the excuses are on the coverage. I don't feel like you can trust the safeties in that formation anyway. And I don't know. I just feel like he's not doing himself any favors. And somebody posted on Twitter earlier in the week saying basically this is exactly why Sauce isn't a captain on this team, because he doesn't know how to hold himself. He doesn't know how to hold himself accountable. And he's looking for an excuse now. And I'm sorry, but this guy is paid serious money at this position, and we all defend him over and over. Look, it's time to repay that faith, and you need to start showing up and leading this team on defense.
Yeah, it's really annoying. I mean, what can you say? I mean, he is a good player. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. This is reminiscent of what happened at the back end of last year, when good players all of a sudden were just not playing well. And Sherwood, you just mentioned Sherwood as well. All of a sudden he's just fallen off a cliff. Is it because he's got another contract? Don't know. But none of the team are really. Having said that, I think that Quinnen is, as usual, just balling out week in, week out. The guy, you don't hear anything from him, just gets on with it. Timmy, you got something else on the D for us?
So Ryan, I think you're a bit unlucky not to get your bet up. Brownlee only had 7 snaps, so unlucky there. Just to say that one thing that was noticeable to me throughout the game, right, particularly with the guy Flournoy, who's the wide receiver for the Cowboys, he had 114 yards in the game for 6 receptions, which is more than he had for all of last season, right? Just to give context. And in season to date, he only had 35 yards before this as well in the first 4 games. So this is not a huge competitor, but he was made look like Megatron out there. Every time he got the ball, maybe 5 or 6 yards left, even 3 or 4 yards left, we'll say, to the first down, he was running straight past people. Like, he was being met at 6 yards into the play, and he was carrying the ball for another 4, no problem every time. Every time he caught the ball, you felt he was going to make the first down. And it's just like, we just can't tackle. It was like men against boys. It would be like, it was like watching just a man playing with kids. And like, I just don't understand how we're so bad at tackling, like, or bringing somebody down or wrapping up. simple stuff that other teams can seem to do no problem, or that we were able to do before in the past. It's just so poor, and very disappointing. Like, we brought in some guys who we felt had a bit of edge to them, and they're just not doing much. I'm very disappointed with Cisco, to be honest with you. Jamie Sherwood is a different player without Quincy beside him. And the plan, let's be honest about it, was to not have Quincy beside him. They were probably going to trade Quincy this year. So it's not good. Just very disappointed with how we were just so easily dismantled, and they were just able to go down the field. Like I said, they had hardly any long drives. Every drive was quick, and they were all of a sudden in our red zone and scoring at will. It was perplexing, to be honest with you. It's the most disappointing game we've watched in a long, long time, and that's, we're 0-5, and this was still that disappointing. And it's a game I expected us to lose, and I said it in the pre-game, but it's just how we were beaten. It was just way too easy.
Mm-hmm. Another person that had a really poor, in my opinion, poor presser as well was Breece Hall. After coming off, he had a really, really good game. I forget how many yards he rushed for, but he had a really good. I was just trying to get the stats up on him there, but here he is, 113 yards on 14 attempts, over 8 yards to carry. Great game, despite I say he had a great game. He had that horrible fumble as well. But then he gives this bizarre presser saying, right, I'm in year 4 now. I've still got so much to prove. Blah 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 blah. So then you got the rest of the team all trying to sing from the same hymn sheet, and now Breece has come out and said he's pretty much intimated that he would like to go. He hasn't actually said I want to trade, but that's the intimation there, isn't it? Ryan, did you see the press conference?
Yeah, I feel like he's one of these guys at the moment that whenever he does speak in the press, he's not like, you hear Garrett Wilson, you hear Sauce, and they talk about wanting to be a Jet and continue to grow the career as a Jet. Quinnen Williams does the same. I don't ever feel like I'm getting that from Breece. I feel like at least for the last couple of years, he's almost looking for that way out. And I mean, are we 6 games away from starting to see Bible scriptures posted on his Instagram and kind of talking about how he deserves an opportunity, and we start getting the free Breece tweets? I don't know, but I just feel like he does need to get his head down. He has the potential to be like leading this backfield this year, because we're going to need him, but he needs to still work on that ball security. We're year 4, as he said, and he's not looking after the ball. And maybe just keep your mouth shut a little bit in these press conferences and get your head down. And I mean, I definitely think he's a trade candidate before the deadline. I know you said in our group chat the other day, Gus, that because of the Braylon Allen injury, you don't think it will happen. But I think, frankly, there's so many running back needy teams that we probably could get a second or third for him at this point, and maybe even a camp body that can run the back for him a little bit, and just see us through till draft time. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening now.
Yeah, I kind of, after seeing what Breece said there, I kind of backtrack on it. Running backs, good running backs are a dime a dozen, but as we found out with Cooks the other year, sometimes they just haven't got anything left in the tank. Andy, do you reckon that Breece could be on the block here, and what do you reckon we could get for him?
Yeah, I think he is, and I'm glad Ryan mentioned about the Bible verses there, because it does feel like Breece has been taking social media advice from some of the wide receivers in the league. Feeling a little bit AJ Brown with some of the things he's saying at the moment. But yeah, I think he's definitely a trade candidate, but he, like you say, it's just bone crunching mistakes that keep getting made when we're actually rolling as an offense. And with his fumbles and him being sort of on the last year of his deal, fine, whoever trades for him could always tag him and work out a new deal. But all those sorts of things, they do impact on the trade value of people. I wouldn't mind seeing him go, because I won't sort of think about it. I've completely turned away from this season almost now, and I'm looking to the future completely. There's other guys as well you could look at as potential trade candidates, but even I know we've talked about Michael Carter II, but with the way he's playing at the moment, I'm not sure who wants him and for what. And so it's difficult to see, other than Breece, who we're getting any value for. You could probably get rid of Alan Lazard for a packet of crisps, but I'm not really sure who else on our team anyone wants at the moment.
Yeah, it's the old Mother Hubbard. The cupboard is bare, isn't it? But before we move on, has anyone else got anything to add to this? I think Ryan, you were going to bring up special teams, weren't you? Or Timmy?
Just a quick one there on the trade piece. We've 22 free agents at the end of the season. Well, it's going to be a major rebuild, and they've said it's not going to be. But like looking across the team, how many people are you really, really banging the table to keep? 22 free agents. It's going to be a major clear out. And for me, we don't have a third round pick. So like if we could get a third round pick for Breeze, I'd be really seriously considering it at this point, because we're 0-5 and nobody wants to hear this. But the reality is Woody's in the boardroom. He's talking to Muji, and AG is sitting there going, is my job in jeopardy? And they're having a conversation about whether they want that first overall pick. They have to be. It would be negligent as an organisation for them not to do it. They can never say that publicly. But with 22 free agents, the team playing like this, I just could see them stripping it down.
Yeah. Are you saying that we could be tanking here?
Like, I don't know if we're smart enough to do it, to be able to do it, to be honest, because we've failed at it in the past.
We don't have Braden Mann on roster, so there is a chance.
McManus though, you know. He's
damn punters.
Jokes aside, though, I just think that the brass have to be having that conversation at this point, because whilst you can say we could be at 2 or 3 wins in, there's a couple of games where if we were a bit more clever, we would have been better off. We're 0-5 now. We're in prime position, and it's not what any of us wanted at the start of the season. But we have to be real here. What's the best thing for us moving forward? And I think it's consideration. I just think that they're definitely thinking about it. As I said, 22 free agents. We've brought in some guys to flip a coin on, and it hasn't really worked with most of them. So I just think that it's definitely something that they're looking at.
Yeah, I think that takes us nicely on to. I just want to say Chris Banjo is doing an excellent job. He's one of the bright sparks on this team so far. What he's doing with the special teams is absolutely excellent. They've been a good unit, apart from the fumbles, but you're getting guys in that just straight off the street. But weirdly enough, today we re-signed Isaiah Williams. So haven't got a clue why, but apparently he's back on the practice squad. Guys, we're going to move on. That was week 5. It's in the bag. We are 0-5. The big questions are, as Timmy's just alluded to there will be conversations, let's say, going on in the background. If they're not, they should be. But how do we fix this? Ryan, you kick this off. How do we fix it? What needs to be done? What needs to be said?
So I mean, I love what Timmy said there. Well, I don't love it because it just shows the state of this organisation right now. But it would absolutely. So interestingly, sort of with my work, that we had a conversation with our chief executive, and a phrase he said recently that sticks in my throat with regards to the situation of the Jets now is it would be organisational malpractice if selling absolutely everything was not on the table for this organisation right now. As well as being in buy mode as well. So realistically, at 0-5, every possibility should be on the table and being discussed, including, are we going to be the first overall pick? And if we are, what's our plan? What's our strategy right now? Do we fully believe in Justin Fields, the guy who cannot seem to pass in less than 3 seconds, and an O-line that is generating between 3 to 3.5 seconds of pressure-free time? So if the question of how do we fix this? Truthfully, at this stage, I think we're 2 or 3 years away from fixing it. And it's really sad to say that when we've been suffering and suffering and suffering some more. I do still believe that AG is the guy. I don't believe that all the people within his team are the correct people for it. I believe that in a very poor free agency, they took some guys that they thought might have some upside, and have probably found out they were wrong. And I think the reality is that this is going to be a very hard rebuild. Next year, our cap is quite favourable. That's the one good thing. We swallowed that Aaron Rodgers pill this year. which is probably why our roster is quite as bad as it is as well. That's definitely playing a part. But we really need to ensure that next year, those 22 guys that go off roster, because I mean, I'm not entirely sure all 22 of the guys, but I'll tell you now, there can't be many of them that are deserving of a fresh contract. I think one of the few major positives that I have seen is that Jawan Briggs, look, his ratings aren't amazing, but he's been solid and he's been consistent for somebody that was a day 3 pick swap. And we've got him under contract for another 2 years after this. And his total value of his whole contract is like 4 million. Like, do you know, if we can get returns like that on some of these cheaper risks, then great. But we aren't going to fix this with bargain shopping in the sort of the Woolworths reject bin. We need to be going and being aggressive now, I think. And I want to see us be aggressive in terms of, if we're going to sell a guy, let's sell him. Let's get a pick and then let's go, right, MC2's gone. Brees is gone. Fine. We're going to have a shitty year. Excuse my language. That's going to be the case. It's already pretty crap. So let's just dive into it. Fire sell some guys. And then when it hits the draft, we be as aggressive as we can, whether that's drafting the right guys in day 1, day 2, or whether that's sending some picks elsewhere when somebody's wanting to come into the draft and maybe letting one of their guys go that will be able to do a job for us. But we are a million miles away from getting this shit back on course.
Right. I don't. Oh God, I hope you're wrong that it's going to take 3 years to do this. Although this is the Jets and everything's on the table, I think this time next year, after we've had this draft, after we've got this free agency, we're going to start seeing more what the final product is going to start looking like. But I think this time next year, I think we may have picked up 1 or 2 wins. Hopefully we'll be better than next year, but I think it'll be the year after. So 2027, I think this time in 2027, you're now looking at a team ready to make the playoffs. But as you say, I think it is going to take a long time. I hope that this fan base is patient, and it's no good saying, well, we haven't had the playoffs for 14 years. Completely different. It's a different setup. You can't keep blaming the current regime, whoever it is, on the previous regime and the previous players that we haven't made the playoffs. We haven't won a Super Bowl since 1968. Are you going to blame every single regime since then? Well, you know, when we do a rebuild, you do a rebuild, and you can't blame the previous people for the current one. So, Andy, before we just get to Timmy, how do you see us rebuilding this thing? What do you think needs to be done? Because obviously we've got coaches. I'm going to bring up Steve Wilkes. I don't like calling out people, but I'm going to. Steve Wilkes, to me, needs to be pulled into the office and had a word with. How do you see things right now? The here and now. We've got a game against the Broncos. What are you saying if you're Aaron Glenn?
I think you're right, and I think Ryan made the point as well. I think coaching's where you need to start with this one. I didn't have high hopes for this season to start with because I thought the roster was particularly poor. But what I'm most kind of disappointed about with Glenn and the staff is that nobody looks like they've gotten better. So what I expect from a good coaching staff is to get the best out of the players that they've got and to see some improvements in some of the guys. Apart from Garrett Wilson, who I think just does his own thing and improves on his own time, I don't think he's ever been particularly well coached. I can't pick out a single player on this team who is better this year than they were last year. I think everyone's regressed and it's been quite poor to watch. And it does worry me that I'm not ready to say yet that the people at the top, like Aaron Glenn, are the problem, but there's something wrong with the staff that he's put in place. And I think that needs a long kind of hard look at. I think early returns on Tanner Engstrand are pretty good, but I think, like you say, and Steve Wilkes, that needs to end now. It's an old-fashioned scheme which isn't working. I don't think he's got it in him to kind of coach up to where the rest of the league is at the moment. My other kind of concern, if we're heading into that kind of big rebuild, is I am not a fan of what I've seen from Darren Moody so far at all. I take Ryan's point completely about it being a poor free agency class. I hated this draft outside of the 2 really obvious picks at the start. And I think the upcoming draft, even if we end up with the first overall pick, there's no obvious solutions that are coming in this draft from a quarterback point of view. I think it's going to be a very difficult decision for a GM to make because there's going to be so many guys to pick from who all offer something different. And my biggest question, if Muji stays, is he the guy who can make the right decision so that we end up with our main guy and not one of the people who's out of the league in 3 years, because we've been there before, we've seen that. And so while I've probably got more confidence in Glenn to take a look at what's going on with his coaching staff and fix that, I'm not sure I've got the same confidence in Muji to help get us out of this and put us on the right track.
All right. What I will add to this as well, because this is my thoughts on what you said, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. Re Darren Muji, I think it wasn't a very good free agency class to pick from in the first place. There was very, very little out there. However, I will say one of the misgivings, which is undefendable, is the state of the wide receiver room. Surely you could have done a better job than that. There were options available at the time, and he did not jump on any of them, and they wouldn't have been that expensive. And then you're throwing money at other players that we didn't need to. With the coaching staff, I think there was an issue there of there would have been coaches available that did get approached, and I think it was a little bit of, oh my God, but it's the Jets, and I've seen what happens in the Jets for the last 30 years, and it's not good. So I think that's an issue as well. I think that comes into play. So I think a lot of the coaching staff that we've got now is who was available, who actually wanted to come in. I would imagine, obviously we're never going to know this, but I would imagine that there were other coaches that did get approached and just flatly refused to come in even for an interview. So I do think that is probably an issue as well. But you're right in what you're saying. I also think that this isn't just about the players that are getting looked at. The coaches they're getting looked at as well. Will there be changes at the end of this year, especially if we end up picking number one? Absolutely. There will be some coaches that just will not be back next year. I want to mention somebody else. I keep saying it. I hate bringing people up, but you're not doing your job, in my opinion. And it's a defensive backs coach, Chris Harris. This secondary has gone backwards big time. So that's another thing. Most of the problems, I think, are on the defense, not on the offense. As you've said, Tanner Engstrand has done a really, really good job of coming in. I like the way he's mixing the plays up. I think the execution has been poor. There are some players that aren't living up to expectations. Justin Fields, I think, as Timmy said, he's not really a starting caliber quarterback. Not yet. His trajectory is moving the needle, but it's so slow. So, yeah, I think there will be changes. But Timmy, do you want to round this up? How do we fix the Jets?
Yeah, just to say, I think Muji is safe for a year, because if I'm Muji and I'm having a conversation about this with Woody, I say, look, the talented guys we have gone backwards, so it's easy for him to put it on the coaching staff, which is what Andy alluded to there. Just, I suppose, to say, as you're talking about Tanner and the offense, so for me, even in the game that we were just talking about there, if Brees doesn't fumble the ball, there's a very strong chance, because we were still rolling on offense at that point, there's a very good chance that we'd have gone down the field and it might have been a 10-10 game at the half. Very good chance, or 13-10, whatever, we're still in the game. But it's how we got carved up on defense as soon as we were down 7 points and the Cowboys just had their tails up. We just weren't able to deal with it at all. And that's the problem. So for me, up until the point of the fumble, where you need a stop from your defense, you need them to step up, that's where the game was lost. That fumble, that was the point of inflection. So for me, Wilkes is the issue. If I was AG and I'm the manager, I'm in charge, that's where you make your move at this moment. You either take over the play calling or you make personnel changes. Wilkes ran out of San Francisco very quickly. You know, where has he been massively successful, really? And I get this whole, he was a head coach before. That didn't go well either. So to me, if I'm AG and my job is on the line, I get rid of Wilkes. And if I do something on defense and I say to Muji, we need more help, if that's what he feels, But the defense is a problem here. Special teams are doing their job. I think we probably still, as much as we complain today, a good enough offense to be competing every game. The problem is we're not playing anything on defense that makes us feel like that we're competitive in the game. We're not playing complementary football. That's what I was trying to say. So to me, defense is the problem. And like, go back a few years, we couldn't do anything on offense. It was 3-and-out. And we had a good defense. Like, Jets fans, we just can't have two good things at once, can we? Our stars, Andy made a very good point. Our stars are not performing. And do you know what? If you look at it, we probably have more stars on defense than we do on offense. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, just not playing as a team.
Just not showing up.
It isn't good. We've almost run out of steam, haven't we? Everything's been said. Like I keep saying, it is so difficult just to keep analysing the same stuff that's happening week after week after week. It is exactly the same stuff. So at some point, what do you do? Are we really going to go the rest of this season doing exactly the same thing over and over? So it's a very, very tough time to be a Jets fan. I said to someone last week at the end of the game at work, he said, "Oh, how did your game go?" And I said, honestly, I'm not talking about being a Jets fan. I'm talking as an NFL fan here. One of the worst games I've ever seen, ever. And he said, "Wow, really?" And I went, "Really?" So it was that bad. It really was. So if this is the bottom, then we need to start looking up now. So, gentlemen, has anyone got anything else to add to this dreary week before we knock this up? And we'll be back again on Thursday with a preview. I think they're going to London or something, aren't they? Hello.
We are ready for London. We are ready for London.
I was waiting
We are
for
booked
that.
into the hotel. The bar has already got the beer on ice, and we are ready for London. As long as there is blood in my veins, we will be in London this weekend.
The tickets came today.
That's right. All the tickets have come today, so Timmy's adding those to the wallet, and hopefully it's not going to be the debacle that it was last weekend of people waiting at the turnstiles over an hour. I would recommend that you get to the gate, the turnstiles, earlier than you might have been, just in case there is problems there. Obviously, keep an eye on Twitter because I'm sure people will be posting any problems with that. Oh, just before we go, Ryan, we're in the JTT Cup, aren't we, with the podcast? What's happening? Where are we?
Oh yes, in the podcast JTT Cup, we are currently leading
Fantasy
our division. Yes, so we are in the Best Ball League. We are currently leading our division on. It's judged on points for, but we are also top of the league with our form as well. So we are 4-1, and we have also, I think, 973 points, which is top of our division.
Yeah, it's I've never been really into fantasy football, but it is a lot of fun, and obviously it's an absolutely amazing charity. So if you've not been involved in it, do hop on the JTT Cup. They are on Twitter, and you can donate and get involved as well, because it is great. It's every year it's on as well. So, gentlemen, we are going to be meeting
Matt,
up. Sorry,
I was just going to say, Matt does a great job organising it and trying to do as much as he can with it. So yeah, shout out to Matt for all the
Matt
work
Cullen.
he does.
He's also on Twitter as well. You can find him up. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Guys, can't wait for London. Even if the game's not going to be good, it'll be good to catch up, have a few drinks, and see what happens. Guys, let's look forward to week 6 and the Broncos. We'll be back with a preview at the end of this week, and we're going to probably try and do something from London as well live. If you follow the show and you listen to us and you want to meet up, you'll find details later on in the next podcast that we do. We'd love to speak to you. We'd love to meet you.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.